and this gets above what I'll say parallel to the ground.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so now we're gonna fold this, and then we're gonna squeeze this down right there. That was good.
I'm a big proponent when it comes to coaching of the trail arm working in a certain manner throughout the golf swing, which keeps a relatively consistent and repeatable sequence between the body, the arms, and the club, right? And one of the main faults that we see with a lot of players who struggle with their consistency would be that the right arm for the right hander in one way would move in this retracting position, right? So the hands would essentially move across the midline of the body, would break down the structure of the arms, and then from there, instead of being in this position where you would see the majorities of professional golfers getting themselves into in a really good sort of functional downswing position, you see a lot of amateur golfers get back here, right?
Yeah, the right arm definitely gets really far behind them.
Really pulled behind.
Yeah.
And a lot of players do this mainly because they might be setting up too much tension, or they've simply just got the idea that the arms should swing and create the rounded motion in the golf swing, rather than really using the body as the engine for the golf swing and the arms within reason and the hands staying in front of the chest, right?
Right.
So you do a lot of work with players when it comes to their trail arm, staying a little bit more in front of their body. And you've got a towel here. Talk to us about this drill that we're going to do today.
Yeah, so I generally have a spot at the top of the backswing. I like players to get, not necessarily out of cosmetics, but more just face contact. If the lead arm gets really high, you start to see more left path toe. If the arms get too far behind, you could still see someone come over it, but with a lot of good players, they just swing too far right.
We'll just say that when the hands get too high like this, let's say we get a big separation here, we would generally see the direction of the swing go out to in.
Especially with higher handicap players.
Correct. And then the alternative would be this retraction of this back arm here moving well behind. That's generally going to shift that too far out to the right.
So when I have a player that comes in with a lead arm that's a little bit higher than normal, especially if I know their blueprint, like I do with a lot of the guys I coach, a play that does really well is to take a towel, just your normal golf towel, roll it up. The thicker the better in some cases, especially with someone that's thinner or younger, because they just don't have a lot of meat on them. And I just love to place this under here for a couple reasons. One, it doesn't allow the elbow to go very far behind. It makes you stay more in front. So if you do get a bit of a long backswing, it does do some shorter arm swing. And then it gets the lead arm for sure lower, because as the right arm can't move as high, the left arm just doesn't have anywhere to go, so it gets in that spot that I generally like if a player is too high. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want you to kind of show us at the top of the swing, come here and move me into a position that you would see these guys get themselves into, and then we're going to adjust. So in a bad way?
Yeah. So show me.
So this will go that way, so not enough depth and too high, and this gets above what I'll say parallel to the ground. Okay, so now we're going to fold this, and then we're going to squeeze this down right there.
Perfect.
Which, if we were to look on camera from the down the line, generally when you got to the top, this would be parallel. It'd almost have like a triangle. Yeah, for sure. And it's very similar to, like, if we were going to simplify this golf swing motion, right? Create a little bit of an early hinge here and then just pivot. You'll notice that for me to get into that position, there was no arm swing whatsoever. Now, this is interesting that you've done this in a thick roll. I've actually never thought about that or actually seen that before. And you're saying that just helps a little bit with the retraction as well. Well, when I used to do this drill and it was just with the towel like wrapped under both, it would always fall out, especially when you're working with juniors that are 100 pounds. So I started rolling it up to create a little bit more space, but then I noticed you don't feel as much tension in your body trying to keep that on, where you actually can swing a little bit more free. There's a little bit of space between the right arm, because frankly, who's going back and their right arm is on their side? It's not, it's a little bit off. So it kind of demonstrated closer to what I actually would want someone to swing like, versus some exaggerated state where you really aren't feeling like you're swinging at all. It's more of an exaggeration drill. So this is closer. Should be closer.
I love that adaptation there, and just through like hours of coaching and experimenting and seeing with players, we always tend to slightly tweak little drills here and there for our own little preferences.
For sure.
Now, one thing I would probably state is very important if players are going to do this, let's say they see that their trail arm's really high at the top here, would be to make sure that when you put it under, you don't put it like this and then put your right arm into this position where it's internally rotated. So I just want you to talk about the orientation of the back arm at address and how that then affects the way that it folds as we take the golf club back. So if I'm in this position here, which I can imagine a lot of players would get a towel, they would place it under that arm and go like that, what would happen from this position here?
You're likely going to go back. The club's going to be pretty outside and shut.
Yeah.
Your right arm's going to break down. There's never going to be any external rotation of the right arm.
Yeah.
And you're still probably going to take the club. It's probably going to fall out because
Yeah.
you're going to have the trail arm fold.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to fold when your right arm is contracted that way and you're internally rotated. And you basically do this like piston action. If you did keep the towel in, you're probably not going back very far.
Yeah, for sure. So I would say that when we do set up, my favorite way to get the right arm set is pretend you're throwing a dart, right? That will allow you to then get the elbow hinging up in this up and down fashion. You then simply just get the towel, place it underneath, and we can see that the elbow from this angle is almost a little bit more towards the midline. It's presetting this external rotation, which then facilitates that golf club being essentially in sequence and on plane at the top of the swing, and then allowing it to come back down. Anything you'd add into that?
No, that was said beautifully.
Okay.
It's that easy.
Now, I'm just going to map this out by doing a very slow rehearsal. I actually love the feeling of it being this thick. I've never had that before, because whenever I've done it, I've always gone with the skinny towel, and yes, that accentuates the feeling, but it just makes total sense that you're still going to have some space at impact anyway, so it doesn't have to be that tight.
The other thing is that when someone's doing this, it falls out on the backswing a lot, but it also falls out on the follow through, and if it's thicker, it may not fall out as much. It's okay if the towel falls out after you hit the ball. Yeah. I'm not saying you need to keep your right arm connected necessarily on the follow through, but because it is thicker, it might.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of a pain to have to roll it up every single time. So you may not be doing a full swing.
And then the last thing here would be that when we are hitting these shots, as you just said then, what's the speed, the optimal speed for developing this move into your swing?
The first rep?
Yeah.
25%.
Yeah.
Now, 25% speed, full motion.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Correct.
It's not a 25% swing.
That speed component there is very important, and most of the time when people think they're going at 25%, it's really 90%.
I mean, on TrackMan, it would be very, very, very small difference.
Yeah. So as we swing back, I'm just feeling that very slow.
Yeah. It's nice.
Lots of external rotation, which naturally happens because of that towel position.
It's gonna have to.
And then I'm just gonna go nice and slow down there again. You know what? Felt super in control, hands in front of the chest. Mate, love it.
Yeah,
good job.
Awesome.